think I had my mic on for that entire break. Way to go, Andrew. Way
It's
to
not
go.
my fault this time.
Man. Good Lord. So if y'all heard me coughing.
Yeah, you were hacking up a lung, it sounded like.
Good Lord. I'm over here watching clips and all kinds of stuff. So, anyway, hey now. Welcome to the show, everybody. If you want to get in, you know the number 205-545-9950, 545-9950. So on those races, let me go back real quick to James Tallarico. Just a couple points on him real fast on who he is. He is now going to be the Democrat representing that district, and there's a good chance he could win. I don't even know who the Republican is running against him, unless that would be, I don't know who it's going to be, but this is a guy. He's a Presbyterian seminarian. What is a seminarian? Do you know?
Mm-mm.
Is that somebody that just does seminars? Presbyterian seminarian. Here's some of his beliefs. He thinks illegal immigrant children are more patriotic than American children. He thinks the Torah tells you how to give an abortion. He thinks the trans community needs abortions too. He thinks there are 6 genders. 6.
What?
He thinks God is non-binary.
Oh.
He thinks the Bible supports gay marriage. He thinks Jesus supported abortion because he talked to and was kind to women. And he thinks the story of Mary's the story of Mary is proof that God supports abortion.
A seminarian is a man in training for the Roman Catholic priesthood.
How about that?
Wait, a Presbyterian seminary? That doesn't make sense. That's like 2 different religions combined almost. Or
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, he's obviously, based on his beliefs, he's very confused. So we'll just we'll see how that pans out. Also in Texas, Al Green, everybody's favorite, Al Green, who likes to get kicked out of State of the Union addresses and is constantly entering articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. He did not lose his race in the primary yesterday. He did come in second place, but there were 3 candidates, neither of which reached the 50% threshold. So there will be a runoff between Al Green and his opponent, which his name was Menifee. What was his name? Al Green and Christian Menifee. 46.1% for Menifee and 44.2% for Al Green. So a runoff there will happen in that Democrat primary. And I think that was all of the major ones that went down yesterday. I don't know why I'm hacking up a lung, bro. I got to get this together.
You want me to get something to drink from the break room?
No, I got some water in here.
Okay.
I'm good. Let me go to Mac on the line in Birmingham. Mac, what's up?
Yeah, hey, Andrew, you know good well that Jasmine would have won if she had got her constituents out of Minneapolis down there. She couldn't have that. There's no way, bless her heart.
You think she could have won if she had people, some fraudsters from Minneapolis come down to Texas?
Surely. All of her people had to be up there working out in the streets in the cold and the snow.
Protesting, yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Maybe they should have got him back in town sooner so she could have won her race.
They failed to get that memo.
Nope, they didn't get the word. But you snooze, you lose,
Yep.
All right, Mac.
Well, I'm proud she's going to be job hunting. If I could help her get one out of the, maybe around Iran or somewhere where I'd help her out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Mac, I appreciate
You
it,
have a
buddy.
good one. All right, baby. Have a good one.
See ya. And who knows? Maybe she actually throws her hat into the now that she's got spare time, maybe she throws her hat into the race for president. You know? She's got 2.5 years.
Oh, please. Well, actually, yes. Go ahead. Run.
If she throws her hat into the ring, I don't know, sometime next year, she's got plenty of time to build support. The far left in the Democrat Party is seriously, and I know this seems crazy, but is seriously pushing for AOC to run for president. Like
That would be another dream.
I'm telling you, the Bernie Sanders faction of the Democrat Party is literally eyeing AOC to run for president. And there is a chance that she might actually do it. She's got the ability to raise money at a an acceptable pace to run for president. And if she is kind of that Bernie Sanders candidate, she could possibly pull it off. Not pull off winning the presidency, but pull off actually running a campaign. But who knows, man? Who knows what's going to happen? We shall see. We shall see. We need to talk about Iran, but I want to start off with this because I want to honor these heroes in any way I can. The Pentagon has released the names and photos of 4 of the U.S. service members that have been killed in action in Operation Epic Fury. There have been 6 total. These are the 4 names that we know so far. Captain Cody Court, 35 years old, of Winter Haven, Florida. Sergeant First Class Noah Titgens, 42, of Bellevue, Nebraska. Sergeant First Class Nicole Armour, 39, of White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And Sergeant Mclain Cody, 20 years old, of West Des Moines, Iowa. These are U.S. service members that were assigned to the 103rd Sustainment Command, Des Moines, Iowa. They said the incident is under investigation, but those 4 individuals and the 2 others that have yet to been identified, they gave the ultimate price for what is ultimately the safety and security of this country. And I want you to keep those individuals in the back of your mind. Just a brief history on these 4. Captain Cody Court, again, a resident of Lakeland, Florida, multiple launch rocket system fire direction specialist in the National Guard. I think he enlisted in 2009. Commissioned as a military police officer in the Army Reserve in 2014. Deployed to Saudi Arabia in 2018, Guantanamo Bay in 2021, and Poland in 2024. You had Sergeant First Class Nicole Armour, Amore. I hope I'm pronouncing their names right. Probably Nicole Amore, a resident of White Bear Lake, Minnesota, enlisted in the National Guard in 2005. She transferred to the Army Reserve in 2006 and deployed to Kuwait and Iraq in 2019. Sergeant First Class Noah Titgens, a resident of Bellevue, Nebraska, enlisted in the Army Reserve in 2006. He had 2 deployments to Kuwait in 2009 and 2019. And then you had Sergeant Mclain Cody, a resident of Des Moines, Iowa, enlisted in the Army Reserve in 2023. So, praying for those the friends and the family of those 4 individuals who absolutely, deserve all the accolades and again gave the ultimate sacrifice to our country, and really because of their sacrifice that it's going to make the world a much safer place. As far as Operation Epic Fury itself, lot to update you on, which we will do when we get back. If you want to get in, 205 545 9950. It's the Line Talk 99.5. Back after this. Two zero five 545 9950. 545 9950. So what has Iran accomplished? Very little, might I say. Very, very little. But they have, because of the massive amounts of artillery that they've spent in this, what they would call the retaliatory actions. Ballistic missiles have struck a U.S. air base in Qatar, which is the largest military base in the Middle East. Unclear if there are any casualties. I don't think there are, but we got that information last night. According to the story, an Iranian ballistic missile hit the United States military base. Qatar's defense ministry says as Tehran struck targets across the Gulf in retaliation of the U.S.-Israeli attacks. The ministry says Qatar was targeted by 2 missiles, adding, quote, air defense systems successfully intercepted one of the missiles, while the second missile struck the Qatari air base without causing any casualties. So that report says there was no casualties, which is good news. But then an Iranian drone hit a CIA station in the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia. That story coming from Jennifer Griffin on Fox News says we confirm with an official source that, in fact, it was an Iranian drone that struck the station. It was part of that U.S. Embassy compound, part of that drone strike last night that led to damage at the embassy. This is certainly a symbolic victory for the IRGC. Nobody was injured. Nobody was at the embassy at the time. Boy, what a victory for the IRGC to hit a building where nobody's in there.
Very fortunate for those boys.
What this indicates is that drones, the Iranian drones, are going to be a big problem. They can take out the missile launchers and even the missile stockpiles, but they have thousands, if not tens of thousands of these drones, and anyone can put them in the back of a truck and fire them. These are really the new suicide bombs of the next phase in the Middle East, and they're going to be a problem for some time, according to Jennifer Griffin. Washington Post initially reported the incident, saying an internal State Department alert obtained by the Post said the attack collapsed part of the embassy's roof and contaminated the inside with smoke. The notice said the embassy sustained structural damage and personnel continued to shelter in place. The extent of the damage was not immediately clear. There was no indication that any CIA personnel were wounded. While the attack amounts to a minor setback for the spy agency's presence in Saudi Arabia, it may find significance to an embattled regime that has long viewed the CIA as its ultimate foe, given Washington's covert support for the 1953 military coup that ousted Iran's elected prime minister. Former CIA officers who have worked in the region say that the loss of the station is a disruption, but that there are workarounds, as you can imagine. And here's the big difference in what Iran is doing and what the U.S. Israeli strikes are doing. And this tells you who's on the good side and who's on the bad side. When it comes to the U.S. dropping bombs or launching missiles, they're precise. They have a target. They're going after either IRGC leaders, Iranian leaders, or missile stockpiles, or military locations, naval ships, whatever. When Iran fires missiles, they're just firing them into public domain. They're just shooting them wherever they can get them to land. They're looking to kill not just military but civilians as well. There is no sort of precision. There's no sort of, it's just fire the rocket off, and wherever it lands, it lands. We just wanted it to land in this town and cause maximum damage. We're not doing that. We're trying to keep the civilian casualties to an absolute minimum. Are you going to be able to keep it at zero? Absolutely not. But they've done a pretty daggone good job at doing so, and they will continue to do that. But watching watching all of this transpire, again, you're going to hear a lot of chatter online. For those of you, some of y'all probably don't even look, but for those of you flipping through social media, especially through X, and seeing everybody's opinion, and all these people making videos about what's going on here, there, and what the strategy is for each side, a lot of it's bogus. A lot of it's not even remotely true. If you're watching people talk about Iran having the upper hand in this battle right now, you are sorely mistaken. That's not the case. They don't have the means to go up against the US, much less the US and Israel together. And that's part of the why the European countries are kind of standing off to the side saying, there's really no reason for us to get involved yet because we got it handled. If Iran had the upper hand, it is likely, even though these European leaders are a bunch of pansies, it is likely that they would be pressured to join and go ahead and shut this thing down. Way ahead of schedule, bringing out more firepower than we've seen in decades. I'm talking about 50,000 U.S. troops, 200 jets, 2 aircraft carriers, B-2 and B-1 stealth bombers, all deployed. That's what's out there, and there's more reinforcements coming. And this is just to take over air and sea. We're not putting boots on the ground in Iran. We're able to do this and control everything from outside the borders and up above the land, up in the sky. We have taken control of all the airspace. We've sunk all their ships. Their navy's obsolete. Their air force is obsolete. Their leaders are getting killed by the hour. They can't even the leaders that are left that need to congregate and figure out what the next steps are can't even do it. The ones that are still alive are terrified to go to any sort of meeting place. They're all sheltered down in bunkers just trying to hide. And for those that are going to be the next in line to step up and take charge, a lot of them don't want to do it because at that point, then they've got a target on their back. So they're in a very, very bad position. Not only do you have the military that is severely diminished, but you don't really have any leadership. You have nobody really to call the shots. And so what that leaves is the terror proxy groups, which some of their leaders are being killed. And they're just, they don't care. They just, as we noted, fire willy-nilly. And they're in multiple countries in the Middle East. But they'll start being taken out as well. As soon as the U.S. finds out where the launch sites are, they blow them up. That's what they're doing. It's a bunch. I heard an analogy, and I don't remember who it was from. May have been from Pete Hegseth or somebody. But they say it's much easier to eliminate the archer than it is to eliminate the archer's arrows. For instance, instead of sitting there and waiting for the missiles to come and using air defense systems to blow the missiles out of the sky, we're going over there and we're just blowing up where the missiles are coming from, blowing up the launchers. And in the meantime, blowing up missile stockpiles. And don't get me wrong, they've got a lot. They've got a lot of them because previous presidents have been so weak on Iran, they have given them the ability to make a vast arsenal of weaponry, of missiles. So they got a lot. But as every minute passes, as every hour passes, that number goes down, 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 down. And at some point, they're going to go look at their stockpile and they're going to say, where'd all our missiles go? Trust me on that. Pete Hegseth actually gave an update this morning. I'll play it for you when we get back on the other side. The Line Talk 99.5. Hang tight. All right, so I want to play this for you. This was Pete Hegseth this morning about, I don't know, it was early. It was about 7 o'clock. He and U.S. Central Command Commander Admiral Brad Cooper gave an update as to how things were going with Operation Epic Fury, and he explained, and he took a lot of questions, but I won't carry the whole thing. It's probably 5 or 6 minutes long. Explained exactly what is happening and exactly where we're at with this operation and what is to come. Listen.
Starting last night and to be completed in a few days, in under a week, the two most powerful air forces in the world will have complete control of Iranian skies, uncontested airspace. I hope all the folks watching understand what uncontested airspace and complete control means. It means we will fly all day, all night, day and night, finding, fixing, and finishing the missiles and defense industrial base of the Iranian military, finding and fixing their leaders and their military leaders, flying over Tehran, flying over Iran, flying over their capital, flying over the IRGC, Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power every minute of every day until we decide it's over. And Iran will be able to do nothing about it. B-2s, B-52s, B-1s, Predator drones, fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky all day long. We're playing for keeps. Our warfighters have maximum authorities granted personally by the president and yours truly. Our rules of engagement are bold, precise, and designed to unleash American power, not shackle it. This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down, which is exactly how it should be. Thus far, Operation Epic Fury has delivered twice the air power of shock and awe of Iraq in 2003, minus Paul Bremer and the nation building. The campaign has 7 times the intensity of Israel's previous operations against Iran during the 12-day war. 7 times. And as President Trump said, more and larger waves are coming. We are just getting started. We are accelerating, not decelerating. Iran's capabilities are evaporating by the hour, while American strength grows fiercer, smarter, and utterly dominant. More bombers and more fighters are arriving just today. And now, with complete control of the skies, we will be using 500-pound, 1,000-pound, and 2,000-pound GPS and laser-guided precision gravity bombs, of which we have a nearly unlimited stockpile. We used more exquisite standoff munitions at the start, but no longer need to. Our stockpiles of those, as well as Patriots, remains extremely strong. The enemy can no longer shoot the volume of missiles they once did, not even close. And the chairman will lay out some of those percentages. So our air defenses and that of our allies have plenty of runway. We can sustain this fight easily for as long as we need to. And as I said yesterday, we set the terms. Now, you may not see much of it because the IRGC shut off the internet to the entirety of the country. They blind their people on purpose, just like they kill their own on purpose. Much was made of the volume of missiles Iran was able to shoot in the first few days. And sadly, as we projected, a few got through and killed 6 of our best, who will hopefully arrive home soon. We will avenge them, no doubt. But I liken Iran's predicament to a football team who scripted the first 20 plays of a game. The team knew what plays to run because their first few drives were scripted. But now that the game has started and the blitz is on, they don't know what plays to call, let alone how to get in the huddle and call those plays. Iran's senior leaders are dead. The so-called governing council that might have selected a successor, dead, missing, or cowering in bunkers, too terrified to even occupy the same room. Senior generals, mid-level officers, enlisted ranks, they can't talk or communicate, let alone mount a coordinated and sustained offensive. That's not great for morale. The Iranian Air Force is no more, built for 1996, destroyed in 2026. The Iranian Navy rests at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Combat ineffective, decimated, destroyed, defeated, pick your adjective. In fact, last night, we sunk their prize ship, the Soleimani. Looks like POTUS got him twice. Their Navy, not a factor. Pick your adjective, it is no more. In fact, yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh. Now, this is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of U.S. and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon. In closing, as President Trump told German Chancellor Merz yesterday, Iran negotiated in bad faith, stalling, scheming, and preparing to strike. And we acted decisively to defend our people, our interests, and our allies. President Trump took bold action, putting America first, the kind of bold action that the American people elected him to execute. To our steadfast partner, Israel, your mission is being executed with unmatched skill and iron determination. Fighting shoulder to shoulder with such a capable ally is a true force multiplier and a breath of fresh air. We salute your courage and your contribution. 4 days in, we have only just begun to fight. America fights to win, and in Operation Epic Fury, we are. May God's providence cover and protect our troops always.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Wow.
And so that's kind of an update as to where we're at on this. There is no doubt, again, and I'm just trying to reiterate this, no doubt that we've got the upper hand, the vast upper hand in this situation. Everything is going as planned. Everything is ahead of schedule. As a matter of fact, we're out here doing side quests. U.S. Southern Command says that the U.S. and Ecuadorian forces have just recently launched operations against narco-terrorist organizations in Ecuador.
Oh, my gosh.
And
country's fighting back.
And released footage of the videos. Here's what Southcom said. On March 3rd, Ecuadorian and U.S. military forces launched operations against designated terrorist organizations in Ecuador. The operations are a powerful example of the commitment of partners in Latin America and the Caribbean to combat the scourge of narco-terrorism. Together, we are taking decisive action to confront narco-terrorists who have long inflicted terror, violence, and corruption on citizens throughout the hemisphere. We commend the men and women of the Ecuadorian armed forces for their unwavering commitment to this fight, demonstrating courage and resolve through continued action against narco-terrorists in their country. That's according to Southcom Commander General Francis Donovan. And this comes as U.S. forces continue to do drug boat strikes in the Caribbean Sea and the Eastern Pacific. That has not slowed down. That was kind of the extent of our military action there for a little while. You know, we were blowing up drug boats, and then we finally made a move and took out Maduro, and then now we've moved on to Iran. All of this is playing out as a series of events that were done intentionally in this order. For instance, we first start taking out the drug boats, tell Venezuela, hey, we're done playing games. You're not going to continue to ship drugs here. And then ultimately, we go get Maduro. We get Maduro. We seize oil tankers. We start cutting deals with the new government. And we say, hey, here's the deal. You're going to play ball or you're going to suffer the same fate. We get that handled because we know when we go after Iran, who is obviously, even at the time of capturing Maduro, is negotiating in bad faith, we know going into that, it's going to affect the global oil market. We go ahead and secure that. Then we move over to Iran, start making moves there, and think about every scenario that could possibly happen. One of the first things, and this is kind of obvious, but some politicians or presidents wouldn't have thought of this, Iran blocking the Strait of Hormuz and blocking 20% of the world's oil supply. As soon as they made that move, as soon as they decided, hey, we're going to block this and we're not going to let, we're going to disrupt the world economy, the U.S. military said, nah, we're good. We're not going to do that, and starts sinking ships left and right. He noted in one case that one of their main naval ships got sunk because it got hit by a torpedo by a submarine. One of our submarines shot a torpedo, sunk this ship to the bottom of the ocean. First time since what? What do they say? World War II? First time we've sunk a ship via torpedo since World War II. This is the biggest presence that we've had in the Middle East in decades. And the reason for that is not because we want to get into this big, grand, long, drawn-out war. It's because we want to get in there and finish it and get out. Unlike previous presidents who want to draw out wars, we're not doing that. We've got a mission. We've got objectives. We're going to go in there. We're going to accomplish it, and we're going to come back. Even with the vast amount of success, you heard Pete Hegseth say, this is not a mission accomplished situation, which is a reference back to George Bush standing on the aircraft carrier saying, mission accomplished, back in whatever it was, 2002. And little did we know it would go on 20 more years. He said, this is not a mission accomplished situation. We're going in there. We've got objectives. We're going to accomplish those objectives, and we're going to get out of there. But we're not going to let Iran continue after 50 years of doing this. We're not going to let them continue to harass the rest of the world. And if you don't think Iran's been doing this for 50 years, I've got an entire list of instances where Iran has not only terrorized the world, but committed decades of terrorism against American citizens, which should be good enough a reason for anybody in this country to take out that regime. I'll give you some of those examples when we get back. Noto Roofing bringing you this part of the show. NOTOroofing.com. NOTOroofing.com, my roofing company. I'll tell you again, and I'm going to tell you for the rest of the week because there's going to be some of y'all out there that have not called them yet. But if you're in Moody, Pinson, or Trustville, had some nasty weather over the weekend, and there's no telling what happened on top of your house, on your roof. It's not going to hurt you to get it checked because it doesn't cost you anything. There's no obligation. You'll lose nothing by calling Noto and asking them to come out and give you a free roof inspection and complimentary roof tune-up. Hail damage. There was hail reported in all three of those cities. So it's important to go ahead and get it checked now while the problem is hopefully small. If it's not small and you got a bigger problem, they'll help you file the insurance claim and everything else that needs to be done to make sure you're taken care of. Best of the best, as I always say. 205-848-2299. That's 848-2299 and online, notoroofing.com. It sounds like a song maybe Petunia wrote.
Yeah, it does.
Very jealous. Very jealous. By the way, White House press briefing coming up from Caroline Leavitt. We'll bring that to you. So many different things going on. You've got both Keith Ellison and Tim Walz testifying on Capitol Hill, which we may give you some of that, or at the very least, give you some highlights and everything else. Primaries last night in Texas. War in Iran going on. It's just, it's all over the place. But I want to stick with Iran just for a moment. And when I say that there were plenty of reasons, not just, I mean, the immediate reason was, in fact, the nuclear weapon situation. It was a threat to us. It was a threat to our military members and our military bases. There's no doubt. But the Iranian regime has a history of decades of terrorism against American citizens, and I think that's lost on a lot of people. I've watched, I've watched pundits on TV, left-wing pundits, talk about Iran wasn't hurt. I even see some of these GOP, hardliners that are like, "Well, we attacking Iran? They didn't do anything to us." Oh, they didn't do anything to us? You can go back to June of 2025, where Iran-backed militias attacked at least 3 U.S. bases in Syria and 2 U.S. bases in Iraq. You had in November of 24, an Iranian national and IRGC asset was charged for plotting to assassinate Donald Trump, which, by the way, the leader of that group was killed over the past couple of days. As Pete Hegseth said, Donald Trump got the last laugh. Between October of 2003 and November of 2024, Iran and its proxies conducted more than 180 attacks against U.S. forces in the Middle East, wounding more than 180 U.S. service members and killing 3 service members. In January of 24, Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorists killed 3 U.S. service members and wounded more than 40 other service members in a drone attack against the Tower 22 military base in Jordan. In December of 23, Iran-backed militias wounded 3 U.S. service members in an attack on an airbase in Iraq. October of 23, Hamas terrorists killed 46 Americans and kidnapped at least 12 Americans in the October 7th massacre. In March of 23, an Iranian drone attack killed an American contractor and wounded 5 U.S. service members and another contractor in a strike on a coalition base in Syria. Do you want me to keep going? That's just in the past 3 years. November of 2022, an IRGC captain orchestrated the killing of an American citizen in Baghdad. In September of 22, an Iranian rocket attack killed an American citizen in Iraqi Kurdistan. In July of 21, Iranian-backed militias wounded 2 U.S. service members in a series of rocket and drone attacks against U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria. In February 21, an Iran-backed militia fired rockets at coalition forces in Iraq, wounding a U.S. service member and 4 U.S. civilian contractors. In September of 2020, U.S. intelligence indicate the Iranian regime was considering to plot to assassinate the U.S. ambassador to South Africa. January of 2020, 109 U.S. troops suffered traumatic brain injuries in an Iranian ballistic missile attack on the airbase in Iraq. It goes on and on and on and on, all the way back to November of 1979. As you remember, the taking of 66 hostages, American hostages, a 444-day standoff. April of 1983, the Islamic Jihad, Iran-backed terror group, carried out a suicide car bombing at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, killing 17 Americans. October of 83, Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorists killed 241 U.S. military personnel, including 220 U.S. Marines and 20 other service personnel, in a truck bombing at a Marine compound in Beirut. March of 84, September of 84, December of 84, June of 85, July of 89, April 95, August 95. The list goes on and on. They've constantly killed our people, and we don't have a reason to take them out.